And thinking about the brand perspective at the institutional level, you've got athletics, you've got the academic side. At both of your institutions, world reputations for success in athletics and academics. How do you balance within managing the brand the two different cultures, if you will, that exist on the academic side and the athletic side, and bring it all together?
That's a great question.
Or attempt to.
Yeah, that's a great question. At the end of the day, we say we're all Spartans.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're coming from the academic side or the athletic side. We are all Spartans. We all love the Spartan
on
helmet.
the same team.
Yes. Sparty is a university asset. Athletics is part of the university. So we still carry everything high-level university asset. Our logos are all university assets. We don't try to create that divide of an athletic mark versus a university mark, because we are all Spartans. So I think as long as we keep that mindset, it's all managed the same. Now, that's not to say that there's more eyes available on an athletic product.
Sure.
They definitely have the media rights and
it's the nature of the beast.
The nature of it. It always has been. But I think it's also important, as being a licensing director, that I also support the academic programming and student programming as well, because just like we say we're all Spartans, the student athletes, they are students.
Yeah.
And so it's the same group of students for the same university for the same goal. And I think as long as we keep that in mind, that helps.
I love that.
Yeah, and for us, the IU Trident is used universally by all 9 campuses across the state, and that is what we identify as. So that's our primary mark, and academic or athletics, it's used by all. But we do have a new bison now, which is pretty exciting. Hoosier, his name is Hoosier the Bison. So I think that's going to create even more excitement and passion among the fans and the students, whether you watch sports or not. I think it's going to be just another great piece of the IU identity, and So.
But I think you were saying it. At the end of the day, isn't every university's goal to graduate students that will have a successful path forward? So teaching them about their own brand, making sure. So whether it's athletics or academics, they're students.
They're students. Yes, they're students. They're there for higher education, learning, and we're there to support them in their journey of the higher education. So, yeah.
And what they do when they leave.
What they do when they leave. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Get
and hopefully they
careers
come
and
back.
Right?
Come back as alums. Yeah.
The brand loyalty.
The brand loyalty.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, Kimberly, you mentioned earlier there's always this constant education of campus. Part of the struggle that we've heard from different LDs is when you're dealing with unique Pantone colors. Both of you have very bold colors. Red isn't red, green isn't green. How do you have this conversation with campus, and what are some of the best practices you've seen to educate folks on the importance of a very specific shade?
So a couple of years ago, we started the practice of asking for more samples, pre-production samples. We didn't actually have very good records of products that in the marketplace that were a true crimson match. And so we took the initiative to really start asking for more samples to ensure that we were matching the color, because there was a lot of variety out in the marketplace.
I can imagine.
Senior leadership definitely made a point to let us know. So we made the effort to really start honing in on that and educating not just internal, but our licensees, what the crimson color is to a 1C for us. So, and it's interesting because there are several schools that actually use the same color, including Alabama,
yes.
And Oklahoma, so
Stanford
and Arkansas. So it's that was surprising to me when I learned that. I didn't realize how many schools used it, but so we really decided to just build our our records, and it's actually, I think we're seeing the fruits of our labor. I think I've noticed in the marketplace that our color is truly becoming more unified, and that's just great to see. But it's not easy.
No.
I mean, there are a lot of shades of red.
Yes.
Just like there are a lot of shades of green, but so far I think it's been a successful exercise for us.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't think at Michigan State we are as tight on it has to be the correct green.
Okay.
Like we do allow other shades of green.
The secondary color palette.
Yeah. And we do have some other greens in the marketplace, but I would say they're more of a fashion color green than anything else. We want to be flexible with our sideline partner as well. Mm-hmm. And, if they, like a couple of years ago, more of like a sage green was popular. And, we didn't want to say to our sideline partner, like, no, you can't have sage green, with our mark on it, if that's going to be the fashion color of the year. I mean, we want to make sure that we stay fashionable as well, true to our brand. But I would say that we're not probably as tight and strict on our green as I've seen some other schools with some other colors. So, but yeah, so we like all shades of green.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, we do some like vintage wash, of that. But I think for us, it's really just, not getting too purple in that burgundy world, and then also not getting too bright red, like thinking of Ohio State.
Yep.
So it's kind of staying in that lane of in between those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fine. Just no yellow or blue.
Yeah.
Do not allow any yellow or blue.
And to this point, you're talking about fashion trends and the different colors that often exist in that retail setting. Are there certain trends you're seeing right now that you're excited about for fall merchandise or for the spring, that just things you're excited about for the brand that's going to drive brand awareness, revenue, all that?
I really am excited about the women's products. I feel like
it's a huge growth category.
And I feel like our women licensees have really stepped it up the past couple of years. Like I'm seeing some really good stuff finally.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, definitely the women's category would be one that I still want to push the lines and try to get some more fashionable things. That we're seeing when you go into certain retailers and you see a line of merchandise that's in your team color but doesn't have your marks on it, and it's really cute, and you're like, oh, I could wear that to the games. It's like, okay, but wait, how do we get that also with our mark on it as well? And we're finding that women are shopping in different areas and more boutiques and online and one-offs and drops and or even reconstructing something to make it their own. And I like the direction we're going with women's apparel. We still have some ways to go, but I really am excited and congratulate all of our women's licensees because they've really stepped it up and done a great job for us. Personally, with our colors being green and white, we do have a lot of female consumers that don't like to wear white.
Sure.
And they would rather wear an off-white.
Like a cream.
An oatmeal, beige, whatever shade of off-white you want to.
Right. White is not always great for every complexion.
Right. And so I'm really excited that, for the past couple of years, there's been that option.
Yeah.
And it looks really great for our merchandise, and it helps with our female consumers as well.
It's funny you mentioned that because technically we are cream and crimson.
Yeah.
And cream, was the color for a long time, and then there was this transition where we were, pushing more white with crimson versus cream. But over the past few years, I have also noticed that we're getting more requests for that ivory cream color, and it seems to be working well. Mm-hmm. I think it's just with the trends of today that's been popular, and it's kind of exciting to see that because we truly are cream and crimson.
Right.
We don't identify as white and crimson, but
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to see that. So
Sometimes you got to go where the trends go, right?
Right,
Just to have
exactly.
stock on the floor.
Yeah.
When you're looking at those female pieces, because I would say as someone who's often in campus bookstores, there seems to be a ton of fashion, specifically around game day, but also seeing growth in the women's department, not just from pieces, but sizing. So a lot of times your campus stores, you're seeing a ton of junior cuts. There seems to be more availability for women across the ages. Do you guys think, what role have you played in, as licensees, trying to get these pieces into the market?
Well, I think we would love to take all that credit. I don't know that we can. It is funny how it has evolved. Back when I was working at the NCAA, I used to call it the Britney Spears line, because everything was like spaghetti straps and tight fit and short and cut, and there really wasn't anything else. And I think it took collectively us licensing directors to say, there's a customer base of women that maybe want to wear a piece to work, and they have an event, a university event afterwards, that they want to wear then that same piece to a university event afterwards. I think where we always struggled was that for most of the school colors, a female could just wear a blank garment that was in that color. So, for instance, when I was at Purdue, our colors were black and gold. Well, it's so easy to go out and find a black garment to wear to a game. And gold, some women couldn't wear gold because of the way that it looked. So we did struggle with, getting people to wear branded merchandise, because they could just wear plain unbranded merchandise and still be accurate within team color. So I think the more that we showed what could be placed out there, and honestly, I think we have to credit the consumers for stepping up and saying it and buying it, because if the consumers don't buy it, it doesn't stay, and it doesn't. Right. It hits the clearance rack, and then the retailers don't like it.
No reorders.
No anything. So I would say the credit goes to the female consumer to keep saying and going into retailers, say, this is what I'm looking for. Give it to me.
Yeah. Where is
it?
Right.
Yeah.
We had that push as well. A lot of our staff employees have they've been asking for business casual wear.
Sure.
Blouses, cardigans, sweaters, things of that nature. So we did work with a licensee, Team IP, to develop some pieces. Actually, I have to give a lot of credit to Laura, my associate director. She worked very closely with Blaine from Team IP at the time, and he helped us design just a cream and crimson type collection, just some pieces to add to our bookstore. And I'm noticing that it is continuing to expand with our other licensees too.
That's outstanding.
Love to hear that. Yeah. I think the only other thing that still people want to see, because we hear it from the internal branding side, is that size inclusivity.
Yes.
Being able to find those sizes, and not just in a co-ed hoodie or a t-shirt.
Yeah. Right.
Having those pieces, and that's something that we've worked hard, at least in our internal catalog, to have that availability for women, because I am a very staunch supporter that I'm not wearing a polo. I don't like them. It's not my thing. So for us to have compatible pieces, but going into campus stores, I'm always looking do we have a size inclusivity?
Right. Yeah. You're right. That's important for us as well, especially being at a university, right? That's inclusivity is one of our strategic pillars. So we do want to make sure that the size runs are adequate across all size runs. And I think that the licensees still need to understand that. We have seen a shift from before taking a men's T-shirt and just saying, "Oh, just order it in small, and it'll be now a woman's." It's no, and not everything has to be pink. That's for women. It has evolved slowly. It has evolved, but I can't tell you how frustrating it even is for me as a licensing director to be like, I don't have anything to wear. How am I a licensing director and I don't have anything to wear? That's just absurd. But we are definitely looking at that and looking at that to make sure that we have those size runs and that they understand. I think there still needs to be some education with the retailer to understand that there's a market for it and that their customers are wanting it, and that if they build it, it'll come. So maybe if you place it in there, the women will come in there and shop, because right now they're just finding other avenues and other places to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Erika, you had mentioned going into a shop, maybe more of a boutique, and you're seeing fashionable pieces that aren't branded. Mm-hmm. How do we get the brand associated with those pieces? Both of you have iconic brand elements. So whether it's the trident, the Spartan helmet, candy stripes, maybe even looking at different ways that MSU uses the green color. Mm-hmm. How do you use that to have a vision for new merchandise coming out, or use that with your internal suppliers when it comes to promotions and different ways people want to get creative with the brand that's beyond just the logo?
I attribute this to the Taylor Swift era. And, what we saw with the wife of an NFL player that, started creating some pieces for her and some others. And what our office does is we watch Instagram like crazy, Instagram and TikTok. We watch those two channels, and we've seen and met some new designers in Detroit that are very skilled. And so we're working with them to see if, they would be interested in a license, or is there some way that we can work together to launch a line, even if it's a limited drop, just to test it and see how it goes. I think we do have some licensees that are very proactive in watching trends and seeing some subtleties in appliques or just fit and cut and length and, all those things that are important to the female consumer. I do lean on them as well. But I'm not shy if I see something, I'll take a picture of it and be like, okay, how do we do this? Because it's really good, and we need to figure it out. And so that's kind of again, it's the education.
Do you find having a well-known mascot of Sparty that people want to use Sparty in different ways, and is that a conversation you have to have often?
We do have conversations a lot about use of Sparty, but more so with our sponsors.
Okay.
Our official sponsors, either through athletics or through the university. Sparty is well loved. He's great. And I think that, people resonate with him. It's kind of hard to dress him all the time.
Yeah.
He's a 3XL when we're trying to dress him with stuff.
Size
exclusivity. But
Sparty sizes.
Yeah, Sparty size. But yeah, we do use Sparty a lot. We haven't done a lot with him on merchandise.
Sure.
We have some Sparty merchandise, but I've seen schools do a great job with their mascots and their mascot merchandise. I think Auburn does a great job with theirs. I think Old Dominion does a great job with theirs. And so we have, Texas has done some things with Bevo, and even with the vintage Bevo marks and stuff. So I think that's an area that we can lean more into.
Yeah.
And I think it's an area that we'll see grow, especially if we do start moving more into that pro trend. Because if you think about your pro mascots and how fabulous some of those come. I come from the Indianapolis Colts. I worked there, and Blue is just unbelievable. He's awesome. And I think he might be up to 8 million followers on TikTok now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But just how can we tie in? I think where we failed is that a lot of times we think of the mascot as maybe what Disney has done with some of their characters. And I don't know that if the school mascot has reached that level of a Disney character.
Sure.
But it'd be great if they could get there. I don't know. I don't know. Kimberly's getting into it with.
I know.
You got your bison now.
Yeah, we're just starting with the bison. So I may be coming to Erika for some tips and pointers. I think it's going to be really fun to see how that evolves and grows as a program for merchandise. we're just starting to get some product out. So it's really exciting to see this right before football season.
You do got the candy stripes.
And you talk about the candy stripes. Yeah. The candy stripes are really unique. We treat them as like a premium trade dress.
Okay.
They're not the easiest thing to replicate because they are supposed to be big and bold, and they are always vertical. They cannot be used horizontally. And they're equal width and equal spacing. So there's very specific guidelines we have for the candy stripes, but they're not meant to be an accent piece. They're like, think of the candy stripes on the basketball warm-up pants.
Sure.
It's the entire pant. Think of the overalls that we have with the candy stripes. It's the entire overall. So they're not, like I said, they're not supposed to be an accent piece. And I think, you can't use, the stripes are not going to work on every single product type. But it is exciting that, we have, I think over the years, we're expanding our product assortment with the candy stripes. We did a great collection with logo brands and some tailgate items. We got it on a basketball and I think, like a tailgate chair and a tailgate tent and things like that. So we're starting to see more products out there with candy stripes, and there's definitely a desire for it, a demand for it, and we'd like to see that grow. So that's exciting.
It's an iconic design.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, outside of the apparel, there's a lot of growing trend, or a lot of trends growing with consumables. So it's something that you mentioned Brian Eubank earlier, which, funny enough, I was down at Old Dominion a couple of weeks ago, and Brian's like, "You gotta go check out my ice cream." So I went and checked out Brian's ice cream, and then he was talking about, they got a beer, they got a coffee, they got all these different things. And I know at both your campuses at MSU, you have your own ice cream.
We have our dairy store.
Indiana, you've partnered with Upland Brewing, and you have the Hoosier Game Day Lager.
Yes.
How have you seen food and consumables be this growing category? And is it something that there's maybe a coffee coming out or different things that you're excited about?
It's definitely another avenue for revenue growth. We've typically seen consumables tied with a sponsor or sponsor's product. We have, at MSU, we have a hot sauce that is not tied to a sponsor. It's just a licensed product. We have had some inquiries about other consumables, but we always have to make sure that the university doesn't have a sponsorship agreement in that category.
Sure.
That then we can't license a product. Or it goes against our guidelines like alcohol. So we don't have a licensed alcohol because of the university stance on that. That might change, might not. So I think it has to stay kind of true to your brand. I do like the fact that a lot of the consumables that I've seen licensed are tied back to that academic element.
Yep.
So we have a honey that's produced, through our ag department. And so making sure that there is that tie, I think is important, that it is part of the academic venture of the university and not just us throwing our marks on every type of potato chip that there could be. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so there needs to be a purpose.
Well, and that's where I think, talking about Brian, for his ice cream, they have, it's ice cream and cake, which is like a campus tradition at every game day.
Right.
The student section sings ice cream and cake and they dance to it.
Oh, that's
so it's ice cream with blue cake in it, which is their colors.
Yeah.
So I just think I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
Right.
If there's ways to tie it into that experience, to the brand, to the academic side. I know David Atkins out of George Mason has his Brave and Bold coffee.
Yes.
And that is something that ties in perfectly to the academic success that they have.
Yeah.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head there.
A couple of years ago at MSU, we even talked about, because we wouldn't allow a licensed alcohol product, could we do a licensed non-alcoholic product? Right. And, the campus came to our office talking about part of our graduation tradition is to pop a bottle of champagne at our tower and take a drink. And they wanted to kind of move away from the thought process of, okay, let's pop some champagne and drink, and toast. Could they still do that, but with, non-alcoholic cider or something?
Yeah.
So
sparkling grape juice.
Right. So we definitely looked at a couple opportunities, but unfortunately weren't able to move the needle on that and get that to market. But I think the consumables is great. I mean, it's in my opinion, as long as it makes sense and it meets with your academic mission and your brand, I think they can be great. Like, I would love it if we could do a pair. I launched 2 while I was at Purdue, so I'm like, let's go. But I also understand that that's just not Michigan State.
Sure.
And that's where we are.
Yeah, I think launching of the beer was a fun process, and I have to give credit to the Learfield team. They were great to work with, because that's really where the relationship started. Is Upland was an athletic sponsor first, and then they brought the idea up of doing an IU branded beer, and that's where we came in. And thankfully it all just kind of worked. It was like a perfect marriage, and we all agreed that was the route we wanted to go. And I think they even polled their current fan base on what type of beer, to launch, so they did their research on, before brewing the product. And we got to, sample it before it came out in the market, which was fun. And, had talked about the can design, they incorporated the candy stripes, and that was really important to them. So it was nice to see all that come together, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do more of that in the future. And we actually have a professor that does popcorn, IU branded popcorn, and she has a little shop in town, but she also does a lot of she sells a lot of popcorn for like IU events on campus. That's awesome. So I think that's fun too.
I think anytime you've got the opportunity to work within, the community. So in that case, the campus community with Upland, you're in state, you're tying it all together. That's just great. So I think more than anything, it's a huge category, and it's just always interesting to hear, how different institutions manage through it and see the vision moving forward.
I have a question. Okay. Because you talked about TikTok, Instagram.
Yes.
So right now, I'm sure all of your feeds, I'm sure it makes it up here, Bama Rush, and Rush in general.
Yes.
So when we think about athletes, I understand they're tied to campus, but all of the things that's being put out from that perspective of these people are on college campus, they're in campus housing, they're using campus marks. We talk about revenue. Is there a way to put that as a revenue base? Oh, that's a good question. The flip side, is it even a trademarks and licensing thing? Because, it's obviously Bama for them, but I've seen so many other TCU, local campuses. I think I saw Purdue. So thinking of, we see inspiration for fashion, what's coming, hot market. But this is making such a splash just across, globally. There are people commenting globally. So when you think about it they are representing the campus, what does that mean? Or does it mean anything?
A lot of our business with the fraternities and sororities is the internal business, where maybe it is family weekend, parent weekend, dad weekend, whatever it is. Yeah. And they need items for their event. We haven't looked at the trends that maybe we're seeing in their posts to see if that's something that we should look at and go to. A lot of times they are already wearing our licensed product, which is great. We have looked at those types of trends, though, when it comes to how we want to market the apparel that aligns with what they're wearing. So I think about most recently, there is a trend, I think they were calling it the bed story, where they announced
bed parties. Yes, it's huge.
Huge. So I think it was CLC that actually, for one of the marketing promotions. They said, let's tailor it around bed parties, and you would announce where you go, like through a bed party, and we can do a contest with that. And the best submission then would win something. So I think we're using it as a marketing platform, or to emulate how they're marketing. But I don't know that we've used it to say, oh, that's a good trend or what they're wearing. Because I feel like our licensees already have it in the market of what they're wearing.
One of the things I found so interesting, so I was a buyer for a college campus, and so I'm old enough to know that when the pinks and the pale yellows, like that trend 25 years ago, and that was just all the rage because women had female colors supposedly. But seeing like how they're adjusting the fashion.
Right.
Like it's not just that piece they're buying, it's something that they're doing to like alter it or create it. I saw some of the most amazing pieces that they had created, and I'm like, this is just such a different perspective. Of how they're looking at their campus brand. I mean, they're really making their brand their own. But there are so many amazing things I think that's happening in the branding world that is tied directly to social media. Like you would have never had a bed party 10 years ago.
No.
You wouldn't have, what would you have done with it? But some of the things, so we're working with a couple of campus partners to kind of make a set so that it's easier for people to have that set up. But their entire room is just becomes that campus. So there's so many amazing things that's happening that unless you're part of that social media, like obviously every day checking those things, you just might miss out.
No, I agree. And I think, we do use the social media as we're trying to build like an influencer program. So we will watch and see like who's got great followers, how many followers they have, what are they posting.
Watch across the Big Ten.
Yeah. Like what's their energy? And when we're ready to launch a product, we'll reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to collaborate with us? And then we'll post something on social with them. We've gotten quite a few of our influencers from social. But again, it's also regionalized. Like how they dress in the South for game day is very different than what we see in the Midwest. Probably the only thing that is the same is they're going to take a T-shirt and crop it and cut it off.
Someone somewhere.
And so with that, as we're looking at artwork, that goes through our mind. Like, okay, what's going to get cropped off on this T-shirt? Especially when we're working with our fan. We do a fan T-shirt for football and a fan T-shirt for basketball. And so as I'm working with athletics and we're coming up with, design elements with Nike and Fanatics, it's like, okay, we could put this phrase on a shirt, but then where's that phrase going to get cut off and what is left?
Because the neck, the neck's being cut, the sleeve, everything.
Right. And so we do look at that, just at that trend is how altered is altered.
And we've noticed a lot of our students are selling a lot of vintage product.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one seller that is always along Kirkwood, and it's amazing the things that they're finding. Mm-hmm. I mean, the students are posting and it's all vintage. I mean, like we've talked to them, we've looked at the product, like it's pretty incredible what they're finding in thrift shops and vintage
estate sales.
Yeah, so
awesome.
We're just seeing a lot of reselling of vintage product.
Mm-hmm. And we have looked at that. We have looked at those designs and have said, oh, we could really do something with that. Like, let's bring that back. Let's, reinvent the wheel on that one. And so, I would say vintage is probably the best area where we're looking and seeing. And, we had one student, like you're saying, Kimberly, that worked with a restaurant across the street from campus. And he had just went around to a bunch of estate sales, his grandparents' closets, the thrift shops, and purchased a ton and then was reselling it. And for a lot, like a T-shirt for $150. And I went over there and like some of it still had like makeup stains on it. And other stuff, and the students were buying it. And I'm like, this is right next to our bookstore. Like, you could walk a couple steps and get a new one that's very similar,
right?
For half the cost. But, they want that. But I think vintage is still hot. I think vintage is still where trends are. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I was at TCU for game day last fall, and it's the same thing. There was a whole trailer that just pulled up 2 spots down from their campus store and opened it up, and it was all this stuff. And I actually, because I'm nosy, was like, hey, where does this stuff come from? And like buying it from old football players would just like go through the list. And she's like, oh yeah, there's like, this is 30 years old. He just lives down the, like over town. She was like, I went over and I bought his whole closet from him.
Right.
And I was like, that's amazing.
It's amazing. And there's some good finds in that. There really are. And there's been a couple that, like, we found out the other day that someone on one of the reality shows, I think Love Island, I've never watched it. Let me say that again. I've never watched it.
We did.
But there was an individual on there that wore a vintage leather Michigan State jacket, and we're like, where did that come from? And how did you and how do you know about But we're like, hey, can we recreate that? And so we'll do anything to try to get that going.
It's interesting. Recreating vintage things is always an interesting ask. We worked with Temple a couple years ago when it was a Netflix movie came out with Adam Sandler. I can't remember the name of it.
It had to do with basketball.
Yes, it was a basketball movie. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, he wears a residence hall hoodie for like one of the res halls at Temple. And we partnered with them to recreate that sweatshirt that was seen in the movie. And it was a huge success for them. But it's interesting, like how those trends rise and fall with the power of social media or movies or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you capitalize on it?
Well, and earlier we were talking about how we had college game day and Coach Corso and that red Indiana sweater. Speaking of licensees, like following trends, Homefield did that for us. Recreated the sweater that Coach was wearing, and I mean, it's been so successful. I mean, retailers have sold out many times. They did a pre-sale for 48 hours. I think they sold over like 1,200 units. It was insane. But it's just like one great example of licensees tapping into social media and finding the trends.
Can't catch lightning in a bottle.
Correct.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming in today. It's been great having you on the mic, learning a little bit more about the Spartan brand and the Hoosier brand and both of your journeys. Hopefully our listeners have learned a few things from a couple of storied brands from the Big Ten.
I hope so. Thank you for having us. This is
thank you.
It's fun.
It's great having you.